Hello, people. This is Detroit Miracle. Yes, and indeed. Right now, I am here to talk about that disgusting, gross police shooting in which Sonya Massey was killed and slain in her own home by the police, in which she called initially to help and assist her. So it started with a woman at home who thought she heard some noises outside of her house, so she suspected that it might be a break-in. Maybe she heard about break-ins in the neighborhood, which sort of spooked her a bit, so every creepy sound gets to her. And it might have been, in fact, where some dude was roaming around her house looking to get in, and then she spotted him or thought she heard something and went to it and looked, and then the guy might have left. So she called the police to check things out, and then when they got there, they supposedly looked around to see if anything suspicious was happening. Then the details right after that are that they asked her to come inside because they noticed something suspicious, and even asked her for her ID, even though she initially called them. Now, no one that is committing any criminal acts that does not want to be caught would not call the police, because they just might come in a house and see something incriminating. So no one that's innocent at all that has and just say no one that's completely innocent would ever call the police for help and assistance. That's what they're saying, because it looks suspicious that this woman did. So one thing led to another, and they saw a pot of boiling water on the stove or something, and then they were worried about that pot of water instead of like, ma'am, it's nothing suspicious, we have to leave, so thank you and goodbye. It was none of that. Instead, they asked her to go turn off some water on a stove or something, because they were worried about it, and then she turned it off. Then apparently she picked up a pot of boiling water or something, in which they asked her to sit down. She sat down, and then says, "In the name of Jesus," and then she was executed with 3 bullets to the head by some murderous cop dude. Coward. Like, who would shoot a woman in the head? Even if, like, all the women on the planet should be outraged by this, and if the cops can shoot like a woman like that that's kneeling down and has her hands up in her head, then they can shoot anybody in the head, white, black, green, especially if they can get away with it. Like, the guy might be having problems with his wife, and this woman reminds him of his wife. He wants to get back at her, like, wait a minute, like anything sets him off. I'm saying hypothetically speaking. So I'm saying, like, when you are entrusted and placed in a position to uphold the law and carry out the law to the best of your ability and execute that without prejudice, then if you take on that mantle, you must live by it, because you are held to a higher standard than everyone else. So must the punishments be more severe if anything comes out that very officer is not who he claims to want to be of a standard, then so must it be. But anyhow, like that type of thing, tasers automatically would be the first thing pulled against any unarmed person. Even if that person was irate, they might be lunging towards them. Tasers are the first options. Why carry a taser gun if the first thing you reach for is a pistol with bullets in it? Like, why even bother? And they had tasers on too, so you're gonna reach for a gun with bullets against an unarmed woman and shoot her in the head 3 times? Like that, those cops got mothers and grandmothers. Like, what if something like that happened to them and they ran into like biased, prejudiced, hothead cops that did that to them? Like, any mother or woman should be protected and, kept and preserved and kept safe. Like, no matter what race and color she is, like, you're not gonna shoot an unarmed woman in the head 3 times. That's crazy. If you're not gonna go in there and do that to gangbangers, killers, maniacs, serial rapists, every type of serious criminal minded that's doing like victim crimes and stuff, if you're not going to give them that same summary execution, you're telling me you would do that to a kneeling, older, unarmed, small, frail woman? That's crazy. Yep, well, and subsequently after the shooting, the police department threw the coward killer cop in prison under the jail where they claim they did. And because this cop presents all types of liabilities and he paints too big of a negative black eye on the whole department. So they had to get rid of that filth and good riddance. And yeah, that one cop, he was the black eye of the department. He made the whole department look bad. That department may have done so much good in communities, but officers were also like terrorizing in communities and stuff, pointing a black eye on certain suspicious looking characters. We know that. But nevertheless, with that woman didn't look or appear threatening at all whatsoever. And even if the water would have been blazing hot, like she posed no immediate threat to pick it up and throw it at them. In fact, she set it down. So they can't use the water as and say that it was the water defense which get me off, which is going to free me, because water boiling is a dangerous weapon. And on camera, we didn't see the woman hurling any hot water at the cops. So yeah, that whole thing, that video was even more disgusting than George Floyd. You see? Yeah, George Floyd, the guy that was murdered by the cops, and where they kneeled on his neck and executed him and watched, and like a huge crowd gathered. Yeah, we know that. It's crazy. But nevertheless, that particular cop shooting or murder was even more disgusting than that, because it was a woman. They didn't execute George Floyd like that. That would have been, what they did to her was something inhumane like that. So how could any woman anywhere disagree with that and think that that was justifiable at all? That means that femininity really doesn't hold up, like as far as unity amongst like women. If women feel like the cop was in the right, yeah, so think about that, people. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I'd appreciate it if y'all would throw me those comments on this very subject, and then if y'all want to y'all can. We can make it into a much bigger discussion in which might bring about some form of change. So throw in those comments, and if you want to subscribe to me, that's cool with me.